I swear I was just sitting there like, I also thought he might think it was weird. I'm just obsessed with them. It was like a whole drama. Well, not like the hairballs. And I was like fangirling the whole entire time. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a first for my whole entire channel, and this is my first like dedicated Q&A video, which I'm so excited to film. I had you guys ask me some questions on my 10,000 subscriber like giveaway slash ask me questions for a Q&A video, and I got a lot of really good questions, which I'm so excited about. And I also wanted to say, even though I said in that video, that I'm so excited to hit that like 5-figure mark. I know like the number of subscribers like doesn't, you know, it's not all that matters by any means to y'all, and like the engagement and all that kind of stuff, and honestly just the fun I have with YouTube is what really matters. But it is a really cool milestone, so I did just want to say thank y'all again so much for 10,000 subscribers. It's just such a huge like significant moment for me and my channel, so I'm very excited for this Q&A. And I haven't really read through a lot of the questions, like I just saw the responses, but I kind of like purposely didn't want to read what the questions were because I kind of wanted to just like answer them like spur of the moment and not like think too much about them. So I'm just gonna be going through the comments of that video and answering as many questions as I can. However, there is one question that is probably one of the most recent ones, and it like really got me thinking. And the first question is, what's your most favorite book ever? And I love that question. I just like love talking about books so much, but I realize that's like a really hard question to answer. I'm sure if y'all are readers, you know like how difficult of a question that is, especially if like you read a lot and you have just like a ton of books that you've read and you've probably liked a lot of them. That's a hard question, but I think I don't really have like one. I don't think I could just give you like one answer, but one of my top favorites, like top favorites that I read, I think it was last summer, is Our House by Louise Candlish, and I'm pretty sure that's how you say her name. It's the only book by her that I've ever read, but that book, y'all need to read that. It's like extremely underrated. Like I don't even know if it's a widely known book, but it is so good. It just keeps you like wondering what's gonna happen, and then by the very end of the book, when you find out kind of like how it all comes together, you're just like, I swear I was just sitting there like flabbergasted at kind of like how all the pieces come together but also kind of don't. It's an incredible book. I really want to read more books by her. I also recently finished reading Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I've never read a book by her either, and I know she's also like really loved, and I don't know what took me so long to read a book by her, but I'm obsessed, and I would consider that probably one of my most favorite books that I've read, like not just recently but like ever. I could not put that book down, and it wasn't even a thriller or a mystery, and I still couldn't put the book down. Really loving Colleen Hoover right now, but y'all need to read. I will link the Our House book down below. Y'all need to read it. Like it's so underrated. I don't know if this is like a Q&A question, but this next one says, do you plan to vlog your birth/hospital stay? And I definitely do, as much as they will let me film, you know, early active labor and then after for sure. This one I thought was kind of interesting. Would you give up YouTube if no one interacted with your videos? And that's kind of an interesting question because honestly, I've been doing YouTube. It took me almost exactly 4 years to get to 10,000 subscribers, which may seem slow. Like I know there are some people that just like pop off and hit 10,000 subscribers in like a year or less, and then others it's an even slower grind. It might take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years to hit 10,000. So I mean, everyone just goes at their own pace, but for the first like while, like probably like the first 2 years, I would say, or year and a half maybe, like nobody interacted with my videos. Like I didn't really get comments or like thumbs up and stuff. I was not getting hardly any views. Like I would have videos that just had no views. Like that's just how it happens when you start. But the thing is that I have kept up with my channel. I don't know if y'all know this or have ever noticed this, but I have kept up with my channel and posted at least 2 videos a week, every single week, literally since the day I started my channel. I have like kept up with it, been very consistent. Nowadays I post like 3 to 4 videos a week. Schedules Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then typically almost every Saturday. There's like one Saturday here or there that I don't post. So I've always posted multiple videos a week ever since day one, and that includes through all those times when nobody was commenting, nobody was liking, nobody was even watching half the time. So if it was like 4 years and still nobody was interacting, then I don't know, probably I would have like considered like the fact that maybe like I'm not making content that people like, and so maybe it's a little bit of like a waste of time. But at the same time, I just enjoy doing YouTube, and it is just like a kind of a fun like creative, you know, outlet for me. So I don't know if I would have given up if like it never took off, but yeah, trust me, there was a lot of time where nobody gave my videos a time of day, and I kept trucking along every week. multiple videos a week. So it's kind of one of those things you just have to like commit to, and it's a slow grind, but then it picks up steam eventually. And then the same person asked, what made you start your YouTube channel? Which is actually funny because my husband is the reason I started YouTube. I've always watched YouTube. I've always just loved like watching makeup tutorials and hauls and all that kind of stuff. And when we first started living together, like he would obviously notice that I really liked that. And then we started our blog, which we don't do anymore. Ken, my husband, kind of wanted to do that as like a little side thing. And we did that for a couple years. It was just called makeupfomo.com. It was called Makeup FOMO, Makeup Fear of Missing Out, because we basically covered like new launches. Like whenever new makeup was coming out or got announced, we would like do an article about it and say this is coming out at this time. We would have a calendar and you could like get notified when stuff was getting released. So it was kind of a blog basically about like upcoming makeup and beauty releases, which was really fun. And then he kind of encouraged me like as we went along doing the blog to kind of do videos either to go along with it or to post like as part of the blog post or something like that. And then I kind of just started like randomly making videos that kind of had nothing to do with the blog, honestly. That sort of spiraled into its own thing, and I just kind of like kept up with the videos, and we sort of gave up on the blogs because YouTube was kind of like more of a priority and taking a little more time. So that kind of went to the wayside, and now I just do the YouTube. And the blog was fun to do and everything, but it was just like a lot of, you know, research and pictures and typing and that kind of stuff. I just kind of enjoy doing it this way a lot more. Yeah, he thought that I would just be like a natural. He's like, you'd be so good for this, you should do this. And of course, like inevitably I felt a little bit weird at first. I was like, I feel weird talking to a camera, I feel weird like putting this up, I feel weird, like I don't feel natural, I feel awkward. He was like, no, like he's always just really thought I had a knack for it, which he's just always like been my biggest cheerleader, which is obviously so amazing. But then I actually ended up really enjoying it, and I liked the editing process, and I kind of liked the creative part of it, because I don't consider myself like extremely like creative, but I do enjoy like the creativity that filming and like editing videos provides. So then I just kind of like stuck with it, and I kept up with it, and I was just filming on his phone at first for the longest time because my phone like never had enough storage. And then eventually we got like an actual camera, like I don't even know, a while into it, and then I just kept doing it. Like he really like encouraged me to do it. And I was also of course worried, as like everyone that starts doing YouTube is probably, like what if people find out, what if people think it's weird, like I don't want to necessarily like film it for my friends or like my family. Like I'm obviously past all that now, and I'm just like, I'm out of the closet when it comes to like YouTube stuff. Yeah, it was kind of like it took some convincing, but now I'm so glad that he like kind of proposed that. I also thought he might think it was weird for me to do YouTube. He was all about it and super encouraging, and I'm so glad that he was, because now we're here. I'm not answering every single question because some of them I feel like will make me just blabber too long, and some of them are just like a little bit generic, and I kind of want to do more kind of like unique questions rather than just like kind of the basic ones. This one says, do you ever want to get a dog? And I really want to get a dog. There's also huge parts of me that don't want to get a dog, like obviously for travel purposes, and our house is like brand new. Like we just built this house and it's in pristine condition in terms of like the walls and the floors. I mean, we have cats, so the floors inevitably have a little bit of scratching, and the carpets have some stains in them. But obviously we're having a baby, so I think that will all sort of start to go out the window when it comes to like messes and hands on walls. And so I think our house will like slowly stop feeling like a museum and start feeling like a house, and then we'll be a lot more comfortable with getting a dog. But just like the hassle of having a dog is just something that we're not super excited about. Like with the cats, we can go away on a long weekend and we just leave them home with a bunch of food and water, and they're fine, you know, like they're very low maintenance, and we can feed them, you know, lunch whenever, and they can go to the bathroom whenever they need to. But obviously with the dog, like you need to make sure you're home a certain amount of time every day to like at least let them go to the bathroom, and then you have to walk them, which is another time commitment. And then if you go out of town for really any length of time, you have to board them or get someone to watch them or be like a house sitter. And so I just feel like dogs are obviously such a commitment, such an undertaking, which we're definitely excited to do. But we always kind of figured like once we had kids we would do that, because obviously once we have kids, you know, we're gonna be a little bit more housebound. That will inevitably like allow us a little bit more time to spend with a dog, commit to a dog, and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely want a dog. I want a Great Dane. Me and my husband, that's like the one thing we agreed to very early on in our relationship, is we do definitely want to get a Great Dane. But obviously those are like 150-pound dogs. So again, that's quite a commitment because they're just gigantic and they eat a lot and they poop a lot and they're huge and they're all over everything. But they're obviously like the sweetest dogs ever. If y'all have a Great Dane, let me know in the comments, because I'm just obsessed with them. Have you ever met anyone famous slash from YouTube in real life? So I honestly haven't met like many famous people, but I did meet, if y'all remember, Kaylin well, she's still on Teen Mom now actually, but she was on 16 and Pregnant, and then Teen Mom, she has like 4 boys at this point. She lived like within like 20 minutes of me back like when I was in high school and college and stuff like that, like back when I lived at home in New Jersey. So I ran into her, I think honestly twice. I do have a picture with her, but I think I saw her out multiple times. No, I saw her out once at the mall, and then I saw her baby daddy and the baby and his now wife V. They came to the restaurant where I work, and I served them, like I waited on them, and I was like fangirling the whole entire time. And her and I actually like kind of like connected, and we ended up kind of like becoming friends on Twitter after that. And then Kaylin ended up blocking me on Twitter because of something that she told me. It was like a whole drama. And then I also saw another girl, I can't even honestly remember her name right now. I think her daughter's name is Isabella, but she was on Teen Mom, but she also lived in that area. And I saw her at the mall one time, and I saw her mom, who was also on the show, out at like a restaurant another time, but I didn't like talk to her. I like went up to Kaylin, and I went up to like Joe and Isaac and V, obviously because I served them. But I didn't approach the other two. Sydney Cummings, who is like my favorite person in the whole entire world. She lives in the same exact city as me, and I've seen her like out like once. Is there anyone else? I was at the mall at the same time as Wiz Khalifa one time. Like we were having like a work meeting in like the food court when I worked for Hollister and Abercrombie, and he was in the food court, but I didn't go up to him either because I wasn't really familiar with him at the time. This was a long time ago, and so I don't know, does that count? And then in terms of YouTubers, I met Megan Lee, who's like La Vida de Meg. She's changed her channel name a bunch of times, but I went to like a NYX event that she was at, so I met her. That was kind of like a meet and greet sort of thing, and we took a picture together. But again, that wasn't just like running into her. That was like kind of more of a formal thing. So it's like I think that's the only like YouTuber that I've met. I mean, Sydney Cummings is obviously a YouTuber. No one really like exceptionally famous, just I don't know, like moderately. This is a question I get kind of a lot, like what do Ken and I do for a living, me and my husband, and I just do YouTube and social media and stuff like that full-time. And obviously now that we're having a baby, I'm gonna be a full-time mom, which I feel like I'm basically starting a new full-time job all in itself and not too long from now. But I just do YouTube and, you know, Instagram stuff a full-time. And then my husband works for a like software company, so he does kind of like IT, like project management, stuff like that. It's kind of hard to explain, but he does computer stuff. This one says, other than fitness, do you have any other surprising hobbies or things you're interested in? Which is kind of hard to answer because I don't have like major hobbies other than like fitness. That's definitely something that I love, and obviously doing YouTube. I really love cooking. I do a lot of like different cooking and food videos on my channel. I love reading. I'm a huge bookworm. I love true crime. True crime, like I like thriller and suspense like books, but I also really love like true crime podcasts, books, like documentaries. I'm just like such a sucker for true crime. I'm pretty much always listening to a true crime podcast. Let me know what y'all's favorite true crime podcast is though. I love Crime Junkie. If y'all like Crime Junkie, definitely comment down below. That's like my favorite. I feel like that's very basic. Everyone likes Crime Junkie, but Ashley Flowers is just my girl. I really love like home stuff, like kind of like interior decorating and designing, and also kind of just like organizing too, like along the same lines as like decorating. But I love kind of like task-based projects where you just can like clean and organize, and I don't know, I really like lists and like checking things off. Some of these other questions are kind of overlapping, like things that I've said before in terms of like, you know, was it difficult starting a YouTube channel, or like did you ever want to give up YouTube or ever feel like it was too much? So I feel like I've kind of touched on that a little bit before. Someone asked if I have ever read Where the Crawdads Sing and if I liked it or not. I have read that. It's like definitely not the typical book that I would read. It doesn't fall into like my normal genre of books, but oh, little man just kicked me. But I just read it because it was so hyped up and it just has such amazing reviews, and I did like it, but I don't know, it wasn't like my favorite book of all time, but I did like enjoy it. It was definitely something different for me than like typical like Death, Grief, and Sorrow that I'm normally reading about. So I did like it. So I definitely do recommend reading it. I think it's a good read. It kind of reminds me of like To Kill a Mockingbird sort of vibe. Some of the main focal points of the plot and stuff like that. So this one's a good one. This says, I would love to know why you moved to North Carolina. We actually kind of moved to North Carolina, not like super randomly per se, but Ken and I, my husband's from Denmark, if y'all didn't know that. So he's not even like, even technically like an American citizen quite yet. He applied like a long time ago, like pre-COVID. Nothing's happening because I feel like nothing's really happening in a lot of things because of the pandemic. But he's from Denmark. He moved back and forth to US a couple different times. He and I met at a mall when I was working in New Jersey, and then we obviously started dating, and then we moved in with each other like 6, 7, 8 months after we started dating, and then we got engaged like a year after dating, and then we got married a year after that. And then we knew like we didn't want to stay in New Jersey, mostly because his job he could do from anywhere. He just worked remotely, so he didn't need to necessarily be in New Jersey. And my job, as much as I liked my job a lot, I liked what I did, and I had like really like ascended the ranks, and I had like really gotten promoted a lot of times, and I was kind of like running stuff, and I made a really good amount of money. It was just so stressful. Like I worked a ridiculous amount of hours, and I was so stressed out all the time, and I knew like that wasn't like a long-term, I knew it wasn't a job I could do for a lot longer. It was not good for like my mental sanity or my work-life balance or anything. So basically we didn't want to stay in New Jersey, mostly also because it's like so dang expensive to live in New Jersey, like just the property taxes alone, and obviously the price of houses and stuff like that. Like our apartment that we lived in, the rent was more than our mortgage, and we owned this, and it's about like, I don't know, 10 times the size of that apartment. And just with the prices of everything, it was a lot. And Ken's family already lived here in North Carolina. Actually, his parents moved down here when he was still in college, or maybe when he was like getting his master's degree, and then his sister ended up following them down here like a couple years later. So we were constantly visiting down here anyway to like see his parents, see our nieces and nephew, and his sister and brother-in-law. So we were spending a lot of time in North Carolina anyway, and we really like liked it here. Just kind of the location, like there's a lot of cool stuff in North Carolina. There's a lot of states around it that are really great. The cost of living is way more affordable in terms of like just the cost of houses and property taxes, and just like the cost of goods and services. Honestly, we don't actually live like really near his parents and sister. However, we knew we could live anywhere in the state because, again, my husband, he switched jobs, but still he works from home exclusively. So we could have moved to like Texas. It wouldn't have mattered in terms of like his job. We could have lived anywhere, and I left the job that I was working up there, and I knew I was gonna just kind of start over down here. So we're still like close enough to visit really easily, but also like we kind of have our own area. It was really just because we kind of had family here, but also it was a much better alternative to New Jersey. However, I do miss New Jersey so much. There's so many things, not just like my family and friends, of course I miss them so much, but there's just like the beach and food, and like actually getting like winters, and I so miss just like snowstorms and falling snow. So there are things I miss about New Jersey 100%, but the cost of everything is not one of them. And it ended up working out when we came down here. I kind of switched jobs, and I just like worked in the hospitality industry for a little while. Now I do YouTube, and you know, soon enough I'll just be a mom full-time. So everything definitely worked out, and we're super glad we made this move. My siblings live in Charleston, South Carolina, so they live like one state away. My parents ended up moving down here to North Carolina as well, so we've kind of all like ended up in the same area anyway. I do still have family and friends up in New Jersey that I wish I could see like all the time, but yeah, we kind of all ended up down here kind of like unexpectedly. Like I don't think when we all lived at home, like when we were a lot younger, we would have all expected all 5 of us, like my whole immediate family, or even Ken's family, honestly, to all live in North Carolina, but now we all do. This one I love. She said, I love cats and would really like to have one, but I don't want cat hair all over my place. How do you deal with the situation? And honestly, I have 2 long-haired cats, medium to long-haired cats, so they have obviously longer hair than like your average like short-haired cat, and I think they probably shed a little bit more, but it's like not a major issue. There are some times of year that they definitely shed more than others, like especially when it starts getting warmer out, but cat hair is not really like a major issue. Like I don't notice it like all over my clothes, honestly. And like I said, I have 2 cats, and I mean sometimes like you'll definitely notice like it like stuck to your like lip, or like sometimes if you're like eating something, you'll definitely notice a piece of cat hair like randomly and stuff. I'm sure I've ingested plenty of cat hair in my life at this point, but it's really not like a major issue. I don't like notice it all over like stuff, all over my clothes. It creates obviously like little dust bunnies, the kind of like the little hairballs, sort of like, well, not like the hairballs, well, yeah, my cats have hairballs occasionally, those are fun, like the little like pieces of hair kind of like accumulate and stick together and make like little tumbleweeds that you just like pick up and put in the garbage or like flush down the toilet or whatever. So their hair is really not the major issue. It's really like not a lot of issues with having cats. I think cats are so fun and they're so low maintenance, so I'm a big proponent of cats. Cat hair is not really something I would worry about too much. You can also brush them. My husband makes a pretty good habit of brushing my cats with like one of those combs, like kind of like collects the hair, and then you could just pull the whole chunk of hair off and put that in the trash. There are definitely ways of like managing how much they're shedding and stuff like that, other than just like using a lint roller occasionally and vacuuming. Obviously it's not a big deal. There are also some really like sweet comments in here, like, I love your channel, you're always happy and put a smile on my face. I'm so happy for you and your husband, your pregnancy. I don't have any questions, just love you and your channel. So there are a lot of just like really like, and congratulations and stuff like that. So there are a lot of really sweet comments. So whether you asked a question or not, thank you so much for just like commenting or being supportive or just like saying sweet things, like wishing you all the best. Like those things just mean like the world to me, and I love like connecting with you guys and being able to chat with y'all. It's so much fun, and I recognize like a lot of your like usernames or your faces, and it means a lot to me that y'all like enjoy my content. I feel like we kind of connect, and I don't know, I feel like I'm like friends with a bunch of you, and it's so special. This one's funny. Hot dogs or hamburgers? That's such a hard choice, like a way harder choice than it should be, but right now since I've been pregnant, hot dogs. I'm pretty much always in the mood for hot dogs. Just to wrap this up, these are a couple just like, would you rather, like pick one or the other questions. So I feel like these will be kind of quick and they're kind of interesting. Like the hot dogs or hamburger ones. Would you rather never leave the country or leave and never come back? And honestly, I've left the country many times, and I've seen definitely like a lot of other parts of the world, and I love leaving the country and traveling, but I also don't love it because international travel is so stressful, between like not just getting there and like the insanely long flights, which I'm not really a big fan of flying in general, especially I don't know how it's gonna go with like a baby. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it, but I hate the long flights. I mean, I don't mind like the language barrier, but that can be tricky. But then like the currency exchange and like using credit cards and all that can be kind of stressful. And then also just like planning the trip in terms of like not really understanding the language or like how they do like addresses and directions. And then typically we don't rent a car because that's just stressful, so you have to learn like the public transportation, which is a whole thing unto itself. And then like just navigating and like planning the trip and what you're gonna see and where, and it's very stressful. Like international travel is so stressful for me. I'd much rather just plan like a trip to like another state, whether we fly there or not. Renting a car is just easy because like the driving situation in America is pretty consistent, and it's just easier to plan the trip because it's not like you have to worry about currency or time changes. Well, you know, maybe a time change within like an hour or two, like you don't have the whole jet lag situation to worry about, and you don't have to worry about the currency or like languages. It's just 10 times easier. So that's a long way of saying I would definitely rather never leave the country rather than leave and never come back. I'm good with America. Would you rather know how the world began or how it will end? I believe I know how the world began. Definitely don't want to know how the world will end. That would freak me out. And then this one, would you rather have no sense of smell or no sense of taste? Definitely no sense of smell. If I couldn't taste, life like wouldn't be worth living. Honestly, food's like my favorite thing ever. So yeah, that's a good question. But honestly, it might be nice not to be able to smell stuff. I mean, I can't imagine not being able to taste. What would be the point of life? So I think that is all the questions that I'm going to answer. I've probably been filming for forever. I've been like stopping the camera periodically to like scroll through. So I don't know cumulatively how long I've been sitting here, but it's been a while, I feel like. So hopefully I like condensed this and this wasn't crazy long, but also I sometimes feel like Q&As are just kind of meant to be rambly and chatty. But I do hope that you guys enjoyed. Thank you for submitting your questions if any of the questions that I answered were yours, or even if not, thank you so much for like commenting, engaging, submitting questions, being curious, being part of this like little corner of the internet that we have here on my channel. I love having you guys here. Y'all mean so much to me, and thank you so much for watching, for being here, for subscribing. All those things that y'all are just the best ever. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed, definitely do so. We have a lot of fun here. And until next time, I will see y'all in our next video. Bye guys.